Good morning and welcome to the CADclass podcast. I'm Josh, and as you may notice, it is just me today. Jake is incredibly busy. I got a text message from him about an hour before this pod started, and he said, I have way too much to do on revision 2 of the book. Can we push this podcast off until next week? And I said, no, we can't do that. We're going to have to keep talking. So I've decided to do this one solo today. So good morning to you. Cornelia Nebel, have some stuff of yours to show off as usual. Connie in the Discord. Good morning, Bill. I think this is the first time I've seen your comment here in the YouTube sphere. Correct me if I'm wrong. So for those of you who are brand new, each week we like to talk all things CAD, 3D printing, and answer a lot of the questions that come up in the Discord along the way. As I said, it will just be me doing this week, so it could be a little bit slower than usual. But we did have some really cool stuff. So I want to go ahead and start this pod with some of the really awesome stuff on the I Made a Thing inside of our Discord. Let's go ahead and share the screen. And you can already hear that this is not easy to do solo. Typically Jake is talking while I'm doing this stuff, and I forget just how nice it is to have a co-host, especially when you're trying to interact and share live. So a couple things to show off. Also, I guess at the top of the hour, there's a couple of announcements I want to make. So those of you who come to this podcast regularly know that the next iteration of our book is going to be out very, very soon. We were shooting for the end of the week, but it's looking like it's going to be maybe the first week of August. We're pushing super hard to have it done, but we have retaken every single photo in the book. We have taken every single piece of feedback that we've gotten that was specific enough to incorporate it, and we've done our best to try to make this book better in every single way. So there's going to be a ton of new projects. There's going to be a drone. There's going to be refilmed videos. There's going to be brand new, fresh content. And we can only do that because of the support of you guys, because you guys are here showing up, helping out, doing the sorts of things that Jake and I just can't do all the time. And I should mention Ed as well. So we, at the top of the hour, a couple of announcements as promised. So we've got Maker Faire OC, Orange County, California coming up. Ethan is working on some projects for it, which is what reminded me of that. So if you're in the Orange County region, Maker Faire Orange County coming up September 14th and 15th. September 14th and 15th. We also have Joestri, who I can see in the chat right here. Joestri is part of Rabid RVA, so Richmond area bot instigated destruction. It is a combat robotics league, which we are actually a sponsor of. We just sent some of our materials out to them. This is going to be the second go around, and we've actually sponsored the arena. So Joestri, got to share that arena with the Discord crew when you guys have that ready. That's coming up here in a couple weeks. Put it in, I believe it's July 20th, starting at 10:30 a.m. Eastern. It's going to be streamed live on YouTube as well. So massive shout out to you guys. And then let's see, we shouted our book out. We shouted the Richmond area bot instigated destruction. Amazing. By the way, just a bit of a tangent here. Jake and I, when we first started this, didn't really know who our target audience was going to be exactly. We've really found two main niches for the people that we serve. One of the biggest ones is retirees, people with a little extra time on their hands, especially people with maker equipment. And another one of the big niches that we found is specifically robotics. And if I had to make a prediction about who the best CAD modelers are going to be in the next 20 to 30 years, I would put my money on those, middle school, high school, college, and beyond, even just general public, those folks making robots. There's a lot of iteration. You're forced really to get deep into the software. You have to collaborate with your friends. So huge shout out to you guys. Can't wait to see that arena, Joestri. Can't wait to see the event. It will be streamed live, strived. Yes, I am combining words today. It will be streamed live on YouTube. So we're looking here at the Discord. We've got Ethan, Maker Faire OC, once again, September, working on a fun little project. This is a puck that will take some mounting magnets and holds a 1-inch PVC pipe. I will blow it up here so that you can all see it. Those of you who are tuned into the YouTube channel here. If you're not, that's fine too. We are, by the way, we've gotten a fair number of requests, not a ton, but a fair number of requests for streaming this to other platforms. People want to listen to this on the way to the work. They want to go back and forth. So I am working on trying to figure out the easiest way to do that. And I'll probably, within the next couple of weeks to months, who knows, given our crazy schedules right now. But I will probably have some podcasting streaming to other platforms. So you can all chime in. Anyways, so it looks like Ethan needed a solution for some more signage. I'm just going to blow this up so we can all see it. He modeled this up, as we can see, in Fusion 360, and then has an attachment to Pulse, so we can put all kinds of signage up all over Maker Faire OC. Ethan, that is an awesome solution. Doesn't look terribly complex with the model, although you can see there are some details and intricacies here that make it kind of interesting. Really like this design. When you have this up and you're ready to show it off actually in action, please do. This is super, super cool. Who else do we have? Connie, as usual. Cornelia, Connie, absolutely, absolutely crushing it. So we had to replace one of our geocaches. For those of you who don't know, geocaching is a worldwide scavenger hunt where you hide things often in nature that seem to be hidden in ways that are kind of fun and playful. And you can go find them based on their GPS coordinates. It's a worldwide community. Geocaching is one of the projects in our book, one of the first projects where we do threads that are specifically designed to be 3D printed as well. And Connie said, we had to replace one of our geocaches. The geocache is hidden in a fake stone that we hid in a stream. Unfortunately, we could no longer buy the original stone and therefore had to resort to an alternative. Again, talking is not my thing today. Problem, the new stone is completely open at the bottom so that the geocache box falls out as soon as you lift the stone. The chance of it floating away is very high. I therefore constructed a cover to solve this problem. Hope this works out. Curious, Connie. I don't know if I saw a follow-up and whether or not it worked out, but this looks like the stone right here. And let's see. That is so cool. It's looking like it's looking like it might hold up. Yeah, this is cool. Neat little mechanism going on there. Love to see it. And then we have I am Kale. By the way, I am Kale. I've seen all kinds of really helpful comments. I don't know if you're in here this week, but I've been seeing your stuff. He responded to somebody who was immensely frustrated with Fusion 360. Imagine that. Uh, can't imagine a scenario where people are frustrated with Fusion 360. Rather, Autodesk Fusion. What the heck? People still know it as Fusion 360. Jake and I are going to publish version 2 of the book, and we're going to call it Mastering Autodesk Fusion 360 because I think it's just too ingrained in people's minds that the 360 is the program. So we went back and forth a lot about that, but it's going to be Mastering Autodesk Fusion 360. That way we capture everybody looking for Fusion 360, which is still a fair number of people. So I'm just realizing I'm slacking on the comments. Sorry, y'all. If you're writing something in the comments section and I'm not able to get to it, I apologize this week. My eyeballs can only be in a couple places here. So I am Kale. I made a replacement canoe paddle for my daughter's Barbie. And just this little simple canoe paddle here. This is the second, I believe, Barbie inspired modification that I've seen in a little while. I absolutely this not only did you make a replacement paddle, but I hope you all see you have this ability to customize everything in your life, especially these little toys and trinkets that come with these things that get lost all the time. I know I had a conversation on a podcast recently where the woman was asking about the utility of 3D printing and what it can actually be done for. And I said, well, have you ever had a board game and lost a piece for the board game, or your dog ate it and now you have a board game minus one piece and it's the most infuriating thing ever? Being able to quickly design and print, or for that matter, just finding a 3D model online that you then make a new piece out of, it saves the day. It's completely huge. So this looks really awesome. I am Kale. Once again, you have been an absolute champion this week, answering people's questions, plowing through the program. Really, really awesome work, and really cool to see that paddle in action. And then actually just below it, this is not something I see very often, but these are actually the sketches on a piece of paper that it looks like he was drawing to try to figure out the little nooks and crannies and the design nuances of this whole thing. I really encourage all of you, even though we talk about computer aided design, I really encourage all of you to do stuff like this. Write it down on a piece of paper and show off that piece of paper. So much of what we're trying to do here as a part of this community is show people how things are actually done. Show people how both, doable, but also sometimes frustrating learning these pieces of software can be. where you stop, where you get frustrated, where the hurdles are, and then on the opposite end of the spectrum, how design is actually thought about is not what people think, right? It starts with a piece of paper. It starts with folding up some cardboard. It starts really just, you know, brute forcing it in whatever way seems best for you in the moment that you're in right there. So I actually love seeing this piece of paper. I love seeing how you guys go about thinking about design and really encourage all of you to continue sharing stuff like that. So really cool stuff. I am Kale. I think I'm going to show off a couple more things of yours as well if I can figure it out. And it says, he says, not a perfect first try, but surprisingly close to what I sketched out. That's amazing. It looks like it works. Uh, there are very few perfect first tries, and frankly, perfect first tries can be a little bit of a double-edged sword because it can give you more confidence. I know there's a thing in business where when some business founders have early success, the first company they've ever done, they never do figure out how to replicate that success later on because they internalize the idea that they're just really good at business. So I would argue a perfect first try is sometimes deadly. And you can see that often in the business world and probably a lot of other places as well. So no, perfect first try is not what we're after. We're just after the first try here at CADclass. So this is really, really cool. And it's not only is this really interesting from a design perspective, but you've actually taken the user parameter side of it and you've used parameters because you knew that you were going to be making changes to this down the line. So huge shout out to you for designing this parametrically so that you just have to change one or two numbers. And then the entire design changes based on those couple of numbers. That's the power of parametric design. I am so happy to see you doing work there. And I got a comment from Sola Asir. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. Probably not, but got some good comments from you as well. And you've been super, super good. I see some general discussion. Oh yeah, Amy. So in the general discussion area, so Amy was one of our early graduates. She was actually a beta tester early on, and she's gone on to get a raise, get a promotion, and works for an engineering company, all because she really took the time to learn Fusion 360 and get good at it and make some specific products for her company. But now the dreaded company switch. It sounds like they are making the switch from AutoCAD to Creo, and now they have to go about learning another CAD software. I am so sorry, Amy. That is a huge bummer. But I guess the silver lining is once you've learned one, it will be easier to learn the others. And which by the way brings me to an important point for anybody that's new or just coming into this CAD modeling stuff. It really, as long as it's some kind of parametric CAD software, it doesn't matter all that much what you learn. I think we get a little too obsessed about learning exactly the right software, about learning the specific thing that's going to be the best use case. I know I do it, and I do it when I buy products too. I'll go to the store and I'll research reviews and I'll look at 100 different products. And at the end of the day, it was a $10 or $20 item. I probably should have just bought one of the first two or three that were decent and then save myself the time and effort and energy later. So the same kind of applies to CAD. Don't overthink getting into CAD. Don't get frustrated because you learn one CAD software. You can change from one to the other. A lot of these skills are transferable. It's really about how to think about how to make a design, how those components fit together, how the world around us is made of simple shapes. It's like learning to become an artist, like learning to draw. Really, learning CAD is about learning how to see and then learning how to break down what you see into digestible bits so that your brain can actually stay organized enough to make it on a computer screen to eventually bring that thing to life. So, doesn't matter all that much what CAD software you learn. That said, Amy, it is still frustrating. It is still frustrating to have to go back and learn all these things. So I am very sorry about that. And I saw some other stuff in here this week too. Let's see if I can just quickly jam. I am Kale once again talking about the domino challenge. Scrolling up, I see how I could have actually used constraints instead of a freehanding position. I'm still learning how Fusion wants me to think about positioning stuff. Positioning stuff in Fusion 360 is surprisingly difficult. I think the main difficulty I have is in the auto constraint application. When you draw something, Fusion guesses which constraints you want to be applied and then automatically adds them, not necessarily with telling you. I noticed something, by the way, for those of you who use Canva. Canva is an online design software. They kind of do the same thing, but Their visual cues are really, really good. If anybody from the Fusion team is listening to this, I encourage you all to somehow indicate to us via the UI what constraints you're applying and make it a little more obvious. That would help tremendously. So yes, um, it says new to learning about Fusion and about positioning stuff. He was talking through his process of going about how he designed the domino. The domino challenge, there's a lot of people that get stuck on this challenge because they want the spacing to be perfect, because they want the domino to look just right. That's not the point of this. The point of this is to do it in the way that makes sense to you at the time. And then when you learn more later, revisit it and see how you would have changed that design and understand how you've progressed in your thinking inside of the CAD world. So that is that is my suggestion to you, right along the lines of don't overthink it. Just do it. So I am Kale. You did it. It doesn't matter if you did it the right way or the wrong way. And also in the maker world, other people love to tell you how you could have done things better. I can't tell you how many times when I was working at the workshop, I built something only for 20 people to come up to me and either ask me, had I considered another way of doing it, which was in their minds better. That's the implication a lot of times. Or to tell me I was flat out wrong in the way that I had designed it. I think the only thing that's wrong about design is not doing it. So shout out once again to you, Kale. I am Kale for giving that an attempt and also putting yourself out there, being willing to have a little vulnerability and share it with the community so that we can all learn from what everybody else is doing. So really, really cool there. I don't know. Oh, I saw a wow. So Artem, this was a tough challenge. So the Saturn V rocket, some of the early feedback we got in the book, specifically about trying to make this rocket look like the rocket that we had at the end of the chapter, was we didn't show you guys how to do that. And that's true, we didn't. And so in the next iteration, we are going to show you how at least to go about or give you some hints about how to go about how to think about this. There's a difference between a challenge that's hard because the topic or the concept is hard and you just need to practice it more, and one that's hard because we've never actually told you how to do it or shown you how to do it. So if we've never shown or told you how to do it, and it's especially early on in the book, you have no real ability to understand what needs to be done there. That's kind of a hard, unnecessary challenge. So we're gonna make some updates to that. And but shout out to you, Artem. This looks absolutely, absolutely awesome. Really nice work. That is not easy to do. And then I saw this Mobia strip. So Jeremy M, I modified the measurements a bit to make them more oval shaped. I printed it out and it looks great. So this is the Mobia strip modified a little bit and actually sitting on a table. This would look really great with some LEDs. This would look really great with some little lights in there. I could see some desktop lamps, especially if you made a channel and you fit some LEDs inside that channel. This is just like a fun object to look at. I still really like the Mobia strip, specifically because it gives, I think early on in learning, one of the difficult things is staying motivated enough to keep going. And so we talk a lot about quick wins and trying to give people the sensation that they're making progress early and often. In I know in the gaming industry, like in casinos, for example, there's this idea of tapered rewards. So in the beginning of learning a new skill, you really want a lot of rewards. You want to get that feedback fast and often, and hopefully it's positive. And then as you start to learn more, the difficulty goes up, the uh, the amount of skill required goes up, the amount of feedback you get about it goes down. You don't get quite as many rewards, but when you do get a reward, they tend to be quite a bit higher. So when Jake and I are designing this book and thinking about how do we go about, setting all of you up for success, early and often we want you to feel like you've made a lot of progress. And then as you get further and further, those projects can get trickier and trickier because you're kind of willing to sit through this, at least in general, you're willing to sit through some of those painful points. You're willing to just do the work that doesn't necessarily feel good in the moment to do, but will lead to the reward in the longer run. So at casinos, like I said, this is a tapered reward. Or if you've ever played the game Candy Crush, this game immediately gives you, like, you move one little candy on the screen and everything happens like you've just won every possible lottery. But as you go through the game, it tapers that reward off. You don't get as many of them. So there's this variability in that. So that's kind of how we think about book design. So more than meets the eye goes into this design of the book. And by no means are we perfect at this. So please keep the feedback coming. So really, really cool Mobia strip. Thanks, Jeremy M. I think I may have seen. Did I see Jeremy on this? No, I saw Bill earlier. But shout out to you, Jeremy. This is really neat. I love seeing these objects printed in the real world. Super, super cool. And I see Dan in here. Dan has been absolutely crushing it inside of TinkerCAD. I want to talk just a second about TinkerCAD because this is another discussion Jake and I have been having. It is less powerful than Fusion. It is you can't get into the CAM and manufacturing workspace. I say less powerful, and I don't mean that you can't do a lot of interesting stuff with it. I just mean that if you're an engineer or if you're a product designer, there's going to be some limitations that are more difficult to get around. Adding fillets and chamfers can be tricky, just things that aren't so hard in that type of CAD. That said, Dan has been absolutely, absolutely crushing designs. I'm not even going to talk about all of them, but there's all these mechanistic things going on right now. There's like gravity inside of it. He redesigned a water bottle inside of TinkerCAD. For those of you who don't know and haven't used it very much, Dan ZDP in our Discord is unbelievably talented at it. And I didn't even know that a lot of this stuff was even possible inside of TinkerCAD. So, shout out to you for pushing the boundaries and the limits. I will also say, Jake and I are going to make a real effort, especially for the younger kids. And this deals kind of with that reward system in the beginning. We're going to make a big effort to introduce TinkerCAD first for the younger students and for the kids who may not be as motivated because of the little fun, mechanistic stuff, the way that you can play with the 3D models, how quick and easy it is to drag and drop shapes on there, how easy it is to sign up. This ties back into that reward. This ties back into everything that we've really been talking about how to get people motivated and excited and interested to do this stuff. And a lot of the feedback we've got coming in from the book has been that our students have gone through the book in a couple of days and then they're off to the races. They're making their own creations. They're designing their own things. And that's the goal. That's the goal. We don't want to hold your hand forever. We want you guys making your own custom stuff. We want you really pushing the limits of what's possible. And it is incredible to watch kids start to design and think. And I really think that's what designing is. Designing is thinking, and thinking is understanding. So very, very cool stuff. I'm not even going to share all the stuff you've done, but you guys feel free to check out that share your design link in TinkerCAD. I'm sure you're seeing that pop up all the time. And then we had somebody in here. Once again, I am Kale. Topic of the hour. I hope you listen to this pod. I'm gonna have to mention you, but Lego bricks fit each other and also fit the regular Lego pieces. That's so cool. So design the Lego. The Lego, unfortunately, the Lego was one of those things that for some reason Fusion introduced a bug. We don't really know why. We don't know what caused it. But when you add the text to the top of the pips and then try to shell, it won't let you shell. And there's no reason for it. And the only fix for it is actually removing the text on top of the pips and then shelling it and then adding that text back again later. That will be fixed in version 2. But this is one of those great examples of things you can't control when you're putting stuff out into the world. We can't control software updates. We can't control whether or not things break. And so, you know, it's not going to be perfect. We're going to get the books as good and as close as we can, but we unfortunately we just won't be able to get them all perfect because every time there's an update, something new has the potential to break, and that's kind of the reality of the software world. And it's also the reality. I heard a term. Here's a business diversion for just a second. So there's, and maybe some of you are in this camp as well. There's a lot of talk about passive income. There's a lot of talk about making money while you sleep, right? Passive income, I think, is a fairly known topic for a lot of people at some point. And when Jake and I published the book, it's all on Amazon print on demand. It is quote unquote passive income, except that I've kind of changed my frame for it, and I think the term passive income might actually do some harm to people trying to start businesses that generate income while they're not working on them. And I think a better term for passive income is actually deferred income. Because what you end up doing is Jake and I worked on the book up front for free for almost a year to then reap the reward the following year. So yes, the book is giving us quote unquote passive income, but I would argue what it's really giving us is deferred income. What's interesting about the distinction between passive and deferred, passive income gives you the sense that you don't need to continue doing things to make it better, that you don't need to make updates, that it just kind of you put it in motion, set it and forget it. And the work itself is kind of neglected. It's, well, put that passive income idea out there and then just neglect the work. I don't think it's like that at all. I think the work is what's interesting. I think the getting better is what's interesting. I think the improving is what's interesting. So, for all of you thinking about trying to build passive income businesses, I would encourage you to say and think more along the lines of deferred income. This is stuff that you're going to do now. Yeah, yeah, Dan. This is stuff that you're going to do now. This is projects you're excited to work on now. Do it for the work itself. The reward is the work. Obviously, Jake and I want to make a business that's sustainable over a very long period of time. But if we didn't enjoy the work, forget passive income. That wouldn't be we would not spend a year writing this book and then the next year updating the book and building a community of people who are going to tell us all of the ways in which it's wrong. And you're all right, by the way, it's wrong in many ways, right? So we wouldn't actually have the energy and enthusiasm to continue doing it. So Jake and I do it for the work. We do it to build a sustainable business, and it's not quite passive income. So maybe that reframing is maybe that's useful to you, maybe that's not useful to you. Take it or leave it. And I think I saw a couple other things in here. Kale is, let's see. If you guys saw anything else from the Discord, just post me a little comment. I'm trying to scroll through some of this and see what I missed. I know there's other stuff in here somewhere. Oh, I think I know where it was. Was it the it was the Edison bulb. We saw some stuff with the Edison bulb and the AI villain. So Grandpa makes uh this is just so he built the LED. I know Connie, I saw you also build the LED. Hopefully that's inspiration for the rest of you to do that challenge on the Edison bulb chapter. Uh chapter 9 currently. It's going to be a different chapter in the next book. All of this stuff is going to change, by the way. All of the organization is going to change. I'm guessing that we're going to get some pushback and people are going to be confused. So please, 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 if you are in our community, when we make the change, help us help other people understand where the changes are and how to navigate. But anyways, Grandpa Makes is absolutely crushing it. He made like basically the protected alligator clips. My LED wouldn't let me rest. So he said, in order to illuminate, the diode needs power. And he designed out these alligator clips, essentially insulated alligator clips, and hooked them up to the LED and had the LED lit up. Wow, is this impressive, right? If you want to learn Fusion really, really well, then don't just work through our projects, work through the challenges. Grandpa Makes, you are an absolute, I should say shining light, but that feels, it's a little too cheesy. Sorry for the cheese. But this, you are an exemplary. What am I just making words up? You exemplify what it is that we strive to get our community to do. So the fact that you're pushing your limits and you're making the LED and you're improving it and you're saying, oh, you know what? This would be better if it actually had some power, and then you're designing the alligator clips around it. You are going to be so, so, so much better at Fusion 360 for it and design in general. So really cool stuff there. I saw somebody else. Oh, that was once again, that was Grandpa Makes, the AI villain. So it was great working with lighting and placement. So when we first ran our cohort through, everybody told us that appearances and rendering was not interesting. And then when everybody learned appearances and rendering, they said, "Oh my God, we use it all the time. This is how we show off what we do. This is how we make it for clients." Because it turns out that default gray steel in Fusion, not very interesting and also not very inspiring. So, you know, a lot of people end up rendering and working inside these workspaces much more often than they do. So, all right. So, AI villain, did I see this? I saw somebody earlier working on the Strong Beast, but not crazy. Let's see. Gear Train, we talked about a little bit about last week because Jake had designed a new one. And I think if you're listening to this podcast and this is the CADclass graduates tab down here, and it just made me remember, if you're listening to the CADclass podcast and you've worked every project in our book, can you let us know on Discord? Because I want to promote you to CADclass graduate. You deserve to be promoted. So if you are listening to this and you've graduated, or if you're listening to this and you haven't yet graduated and worked through all of the projects, maybe that'll be inspiration for you to do so. Okay, let's see. Dan says, last 2 weeks I was thinking it might not. Oh, wow. Dan. Um, Good to hear. So Dan just mentioned in the comment section, again, Dan ZDP inside of our Discord that he thought he might have bone cancer in his jaw, but false alarm, did not have it. So good to hear, Dan. I'm going to quickly scroll through the comments and make sure I didn't miss anything. And I'm curious, what do you guys think? What do you think about any of the topics of discussion today? I know I have rambled. It's hard to believe I just rambled for about a half an hour straight, but somehow I managed to do that. Turns out, I suppose, I like to talk. Can't wait to get my hands on the new book, says Joestri. Yep. I also can't wait to get my hands on the new book. Yeah, let me know if I missed anything. I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think so. I'm going to probably keep it a little bit short this week. Again, probably another half hour or so podcast. I'm guessing for the next 2 to 3 weeks that we are going to keep these really nice and short. I'm sorry, we'd like to do the hour podcast. Jake may or may not join over the next few weeks. Frankly, I prefer to just lock him in his room and have him do all of this massive amount of work to finalize the book in time to actually publish it up on Amazon. So we're trying to get this all out by the start of the new school year and roll it out so we can focus on other things. I've got nothing else for the day, but I'm going to come at you next week. I'm going to do a little bit more research on what's coming in CAD. I've heard some interesting talks and discussions lately, and I've also been keeping up in the 3D printing sphere a little bit. So I am going to hopefully have a small segment of news next week, and maybe also do a short segment on where I think the opportunities are in this skill set that you all are picking up right now. So Spitfire says, I'm only 3 chapters in the old book. Would it be best to switch to the new book? I would keep working through it. The new book is going to be pretty similar, especially after chapter 3. What I would recommend you do if you've got the old book and the new one comes out, first off, you don't have to buy both books. It's going to be free as a PDF. You know, we don't want to have to make it so that everybody has to rebuy it all the time. Obviously, we appreciate your donations and support, but by no means do you have to purchase this over and over again. I would say keep working through the book you're in, Spitfire, and when the new one comes out, I would switch to that because it'll have all the updates and modifications, making it a lot easier for you to go through. Most of the projects changes we're making were chapter 3 and before. After chapter 3, it's just minor revisions and some new workflows in the book. So basically the same projects after chapter 3, but modified and improved in some way. Before chapter 3, there's about 8 or 9, maybe it's 7 new projects, including the drone. So I would just go back and work through some of those projects as well. All right. Well, nice to see the chatter in there. Once again, if you're in Richmond, don't forget to check out Rabbit RVA's event on July 20th. If you are in Orange County, California, don't forget to check out Maker Faire OC September 14th and 15th. And this has been the CADclass podcast. Once again, I'm Josh, and obviously my partner Jake isn't here today, but we will see you next week. Cheers, everybody.